Shalom. We're Hurtful Righteous Words. We're in chapters 13, verse 24. Verse 24. It says this. Another parable he put forth to them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field, but while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. But when the grains had when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came and said to him, Sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have tares? He said to them, an enemy has done this. The servants said to him, do you want us to go and gather them up? But he said, no, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into the barn. All right, and then let's go to, that's going to tag along with verse 37. Let's skip up to 37. All right, it says, he answered and said to them, so verse 36, Yahusha sent the multitude away and went into the house, and his disciples came to him saying, explain to us the parable of the tares of the field. So verse 37, he's going to break it down. He answered and said to them, he who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seeds are the sons of the kingdom, but the tares are the sons of the wicked one. The enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the reapers are the angels or the messengers. Therefore, as the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of this age. The Son of Man will send out his messengers, and they will gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and those who practice lawlessness, and will cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. All right, so here's some offensive words that need to be in our preaching of the gospel. Okay. Fire. Okay. Tares are gathered and burned in the fire. All right. Everything that offends Yahuwah and the righteous, those who practice lawlessness, will be cast into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. You're going to feel it. They're going to feel that stuff. It's going to be felt. It's going to be burning, wailing and gnashing of teeth. The righteous will shine forth. Okay, so those are some very offensive words to say, especially to people who you're preaching the gospel to. I've even heard in Christianity, and even in some people who claim to believe in Torah and Yahuwah and Yahusha, that we shouldn't be mentioning this stuff. This is cruel. It's cruel to think of eternal punishment. Yeah, it's hurtful, but it's just and it's righteous. That's the punishment for ignoring and spitting in the face of your Creator every single day of your life and not surrendering your life to Him. So, yes, it hurts, but it's righteous, and we got to preach this stuff. Chapter 13, verse 53 to 58. It says, now it came to pass when Yahusha had finished these parables that he departed from there. When he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, where did the Son of Man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is this not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James, Jose, Simon, and Judas? and his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all these things? So they were offended at him. But Yahusha said to them, a prophet is not without honor except in his own country and in his own house. Now he did not do any mighty works there because of their unbelief. I guess the only negative thing I can see from here is how a prophet is not without honor in his own country. So in other words, saying that some people don't have eyes and don't have ears to see or hear who a true messenger is when you're in your own town. So that would be offensive to who? Those in your own town, whether it's your family, whether it's your neighbors, that would be an offensive thing. But it's true and it's righteous. Chapter 14, verse 1-5, it says, at that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report about Yahusha and said to his servants, this is Yahonan the Immerser. He is risen. This is Yahonan the Immerser. He is risen from the dead, and therefore these powers are at work in him. For Herod had laid hold of Yahonan and bound him and put him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because Yahonan had said to him, it is not lawful for you to have her. And although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. What's the offensive thing here? John said to him, it is not lawful for you to have her. So calling out a sin. Okay, adultery is adultery. All right, and he's calling it out. That's what Yahonan did. And it said, although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, the daughter of Herodias danced before them and pleased Herod. Therefore he promised with an oath to give her whatever she might ask. So she, having been prompted by her mother, said, give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter. All right. And the king was sorry, nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, he commanded it to be given to her. So he sent and had John beheaded in prison, and his head was brought on a platter and given to the girl, and she brought it to her mother. Then his disciples came and took away the body and buried it and went and told Yahusha. So this man stood up for the truth, simply rebuking a Gentile, wicked Gentile pagan. And his head is, he got beheaded. So moving on. Let's go to 14, verse 29-39. So he said, come. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Yahusha. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately that Yahusha stretched out his hand and caught him and said to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? Here, I want you to really zone in on this. This is a tragic moment right now. Peter, for goodness sake, is getting ready to drown. This is probably the place you want to start having compassion and love and care, right? Your homeboy is drowning. And what does Yahusha say? Like a good coach, he's standing on top of the water, seeing Peter sinking. And he's saying, oh, you of little faith. If you don't see something rude about that, I don't know what you smoking. For real.
Now, wait.
Go ahead.
Now, hold on. If you don't see it as rude, then maybe that's a good thing.
Oh, right. Well, no, here's what I'm trying to teach.
I know what you're trying to teach.
Rudeness is not sin. Being hurtful and offensive is not a sin. That's what I'm trying to teach.
But that was straight up keeping it real to him.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So here he is, my man, drowning. This is not a time, this doesn't look like the appropriate time to be rebuking anybody. This is the time to save and to help. But Yahusha responds, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the boat came and worshipped him, bowed down at his feet, recognizing how powerful this man is. Truly, you are the son of Elohim. Hallelujah. All right. Let's go to, that was 14, verse 29 to 39. Let's keep going. Verse 34. When they had crossed over, they came to the land of Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized him, they sent out into all the surrounding region, brought to him all who were sick, and begged him that they might only touch the hem of his garment. As many as has touched it were made perfectly well. Let's go to chapter, did I think I miswrote this. My apologies. Interesting. Let's go to chapter 15, verse 1 to 9. It says, Then the scribes and Pharisees who were from Jerusalem came to Yahusha, saying, Why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? Oh boy, get ready. For they do not wash their hands when they eat bread. He answered and said to them. So Yahusha responds to these Pharisees. He says, and scribes, he says, Why do you also transgress the commandment of Elohim because of your tradition? For Elohim commanded, saying, Honor your father and your mother, and he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, whoever says to his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me is a gift to Elohim, then he need not honor his father or mother. Thus you have made the commandment of Elohim of no effect by your tradition. Hypocrites! Well did Yeshayahu prophesy about you, saying, These people draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me, and in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. So not only did he call them in front of the disciples, again, guys, there's no protocol here. There's no, hey, let me go to these scribes and Pharisees one-on-one first. Let me respect their eldership and their leadership and go to them directly and say, hey, guys, listen. All right. In front of the disciples, they're called hypocrites. And then in verse 10, go ahead.
I was going to comment on what you just said. No protocol. Also, in that, they wouldn't be considered brothers anyways because they're not doing the will of the Father.
But at the same time, you know, I don't like that excuse because at the same time, Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 to 3, Yahusha commands his disciples to listen to everything that the teachers of the law of Moses teach. So Yahusha still asked them to submit to the structure and the order of the synagogues and the temples, you know what I'm saying, and the Shabbats, right? So they would be considered brothers in the sense of their Torah teachers. They are supposed to be people who are in love with Yahuwah and his word, yet they're getting rebuked. As a matter of fact, they get rebuked more harshly because they're supposed to be teachers.
Because of the level they're supposed to be at.
Right. Because I was hearing that in the past couple of weeks. I was hearing that same thing too, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No, I would consider them, they're supposed to be more than brothers. They're supposed to be the shepherds. They're supposed to be the ones that teach and gather the family and teach the family. So now what happens is they're starting to teach things that are false. And somebody has to call them out on it.
Yeah.
You know? But
so they need to know that they can be rebuked. That's
yes.
the way it is. They're out of line.
Absolutely. Even if they're a leader, right? They're a leader. You're like, oh, yeah. You have no right to rebuke me. You know? Do I? Well, let's examine. Let's examine if my rebuke towards you is actually justified or not. That should be the question. The question shouldn't be, oh my goodness, you rebuked an elder. That's not the question isn't whether we rebuked an elder and went through the right protocol or not. The question is, what is the basis of your rebuke?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
All right. That was to verse 9. And then in verse 10, it says he called the multitude to himself, and he said, and he basically, Yahusha goes on and breaks down, affirms what he said to these scribes and Pharisees, to the multitude. So now it's like gossip. You know what I mean? He's spreading the word. He's letting people know these guys, these jokers, don't listen to him. You know, Jeff, Sakai, what you got?
Yeah, back in verse 2, he's quoting their teaching from the Mishnah, which is later called the Talmud once they wrote it down. And that's a Talmudic teaching about washing, ritual washing. And then when he calls the multitude near him, he corrects their teaching and lets them know that that's not the correct teaching.
Amen.
You can look up the thing about washing before eating, and it goes back to Talmud, but before Talmud, it was the oral tradition, the Mishnah, the oral Torah.
Yep.
And you can see that he does it on multiple occasions. He'll quote their teachings directly, and then you can actually Google them and find out they're in the Talmud even to this day.
Yep. Agreed. Thank you for that. All right, let's go to verse 12. Verse 12, it says, then his disciples came and said to him, do you know that the Pharisees were offended when they heard this saying? Yahusha, did you know that you offended them when you said that? Did you know that? As if that's a sin. As if it's a sin to offend people. Who came up with this doctrine that it is a sin to offend? That is a false doctrine. Unrighteous anger is when you offend people. That's a lie from Hasatan. It feels good, it sounds good, but it's wrong. And what's Yahusha's response? Did he apologize? Did Yahusha say, I'm sorry? Oh, let me go up to them and repent before the assembly because my words weren't properly chosen, or I didn't go through the proper protocol? Did he repent? No. His response is, every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted will be uprooted. Leave them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind, and if the blind leads the blind, both will fall into the ditch. He didn't just he drove the knife in a little deeper.
I was just going to say that. Yep.
That offensive knife, now he's like twisting it around now, like turning it.
I was just going to say that. Oh, really? I offended them? Well, check this out.
Yeah, you didn't like that? Well, yeah, exactly. For real, yo. Some people need that. You got to say it sometimes. These people are liars. They're snakes. They're deceptive. You know what I'm saying? They're dishonest. And it has to be said. Verse 15. Let me see. Do I have to read 15? Yes. We're going all the way to 20. Then Peter answered and said to him, explain the parable to us. So he don't even want to deal with it no more. So you see Peter, he's like, all right, Yahusha, I'm going to stop asking you about that. I'll leave that alone. Let's change subjects. So now he's asking about the parable. So Yahusha said, are you also without understanding? So now Yahusha's on this rant right now. He's like, I'm just rebuking these hypocrites, and now you're frustrated with me that you don't understand what I was talking about. Can you, this is the way I'm seeing it. You know? I know, woo, man, I feel Yahusha's frustration.
Hey, you're offending him now. Stop it.
Man, are you also without understanding?
Right.
You don't want to be part of that group, right? All right, but I'm going to tell you. Do you not yet understand whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and is eliminated? You know why he's frustrated? Because in verse 11, that's exactly what he said to the multitude. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles a man. So here, Peter's asking him again, didn't you just hear what I just said? I just said this. But those things which proceed out of the mouth come from the heart, and they defile a man. For out of the heart proceeds evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornication, thefts, false witness. False witness, guys. It's not a witness. If I say someone's a liar, that is not bad. If I say someone's a snake, that's not bad. But if I'm lying about that, that's a different story. Now I'm in sin because I lied. Blasphemies, these things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashed hand does not defile a man. So he's addressing that Talmudic tradition that they're embracing, calling something a sin that Yahuwah never called a sin. All right, let's keep going. Chapter 15, chapter 15, verse 21 to 28. It says, then Yahusha went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came from that region and cried out to him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, son of David. My daughter is severely demon-possessed. But he answered her not a word. That could be seen as rude and disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's asking you something, Yahusha, you should always reply. You should always answer your emails. You should always reply back to your text messages. You should always reply to every comment on social media. No, I don't need to reply to everything. I can be quiet when I want to be quiet, and I can respond, choose who I want to respond to. And his disciples came and urged him, saying, send her away, for she cries out after us. That means she's annoying. She's persistent. She's annoying us. But he answered and said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay, that's a little offensive. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. She didn't get offended, and that didn't stop her from getting what she was going, what she came to him for. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not good to take the children's bread, the Israelites' bread, and throw it to little dogs. If that's not offensive, again, I don't know what you're smoking. Those are offensive words. Now, did she allow her heart to be offended? Maybe a little bit, but not enough to back down. And she said, yes, Lord, yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs which fall from their master's table. I love that. That phrase, I almost want to make a shirt of that. It was so powerful. Then Yahusha answered and said to her, O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire. And her daughter was healed from that very hour. It's beautiful. Carry on. Cheerio. Chapter 16, verse 1 to 12. Right? Did I miss anything? Mm-hmm. Yep, nope, we can move on. 16. Chapter 16. Verse 1. 1 to 12. It says, then the Pharisees and Sadducees came and testing him asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. He answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites. There we go again. You know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign will be given to it except for the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. All right, there it is, guys. Nothing more to be said. Hypocrites. Verse 5. Go ahead.
My version, instead of saying hypocrites, it says respecters of persons.
Interesting. I do have a star next to that word in this translation that I'm reading. And let me see. It's connected to...
Chapter.
Where is it? Chapter 16, verse 3. One of the New Testament texts omits hypocrites. So Not sure. Got to look to the Greek.
Yeah, I'm looking. No,
Let me
I
pause.
have it as a hypocrite.
All right, Mila looked it up in the Greek. She says it says hypocrites.
Hypocrites, one who answers in
Hypocrites.
a dissembler, pretender.
Hypocrites.
And it is used.
Hypocrita.
It's every time the word's used as hypocrite. I'm sorry, Deeper, I'm talking low. I do have that. It's G5273. Hypocrites. And just dissembler, pretend. Oh, you can't even see that. Pretender, just.
I can see it on mine.
Dissembler. Oh yeah, true. And then every time the word is used, it's used translated as hypocrite. No.
Let me just tell you guys something about translations. Even the sacred name, restored names ones, guys.
They have to change it.
Copyright issues. Mm-hmm. So in order for you to publish a translation, you have to change words around unless you want to get sued. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason why we're finding different English words. It's not necessarily. So you know how easily, if I want to make another translation of scriptures, I have to go online, look up a thesaurus, and find the synonyms for the word that I want to change, and just pick one. That's it. So instead of saying hypocrites, I bet you if I go online right now and I look up synonyms, a pretender. An actor, you know?
Actor, I was going to say actor.
So that's it. That's what these translations do, because every couple verses, I think, or something like, I think an entire verse can't be perfectly identical to another translation for a certain amount of time, unless, then you can get sued. That's all it really is, brother, sometimes.
10%.
10%? He knows the percentage. Have you been working on the translation, Jeff?
No, not at all. But when I found out how you have to, they do it for money, so they change it so that they can make money. You know what I mean? So they're changing the word of Yah so that they can earn some money. Yes. And they have to change it by at least 10% from what they're copying it from to get a copyright so that they can sell it and not have to owe somebody the money who they basically outright plagiarized. Greed, yay.
Yay. All right, verse 5. Chapter 16, verse 5. It says, now when his disciples had come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Then Yahushua said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And they reasoned among themselves, saying, is it because we didn't take any bread? Is he telling us that because we didn't take any bread? But Yahushua, being aware of it, I hear what y'all saying over there. He said to them, oh, you of little faith! Why do you reason among yourselves because you have brought no bread? Like, dang it! Why does he keep telling us that? That's like the 5th time he's told us that already. You have little faith. I can't stand that. Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up? Nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you took up? How is it you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread? But to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but the doctrine of the Pharisees and Sadducees. All right. There's another, if you want to say an undercut, low blow to the Pharisees and Sadducees outside of their presence, okay? That's not gossip. It's called the truth. It's called exposing false teachers, okay? I remember even in Christianity, I always loved going online and looking up the ones who were exposing false teachers and prophets. I loved it. I remember the time where it was starting to happen a lot on the web. The Joel Osteens, they were putting up stuff against Benny Hinn, Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, and all these other people. And within the same religion of Christianity, you have those that believe those guys are wrong for doing that. That's wrong. You shouldn't badmouth, preachers of the word. Like, it's weird. It's really weird. You got a group of people reading the same book, and one people are going to say it's wrong to expose false teachers and prophets, and the other side says, no, we have to, you know? So I think Yahusha would be in support of the guys who are exposing these men for their words, what they teach, what they preach, and what they do. A lot of these people, they're what they do with money and everything is public. You can see it. You can look up what they do, how they spend their money. You can see that they've been investigated, tax invasions and all this other stuff, and they're spending money on jets and helicopters.
What's the bad thing about it, that if they weren't being exposed, a lot of people already normalized it and said it's okay, and that's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be exposed.
Yep, absolutely. All right, carry on, cheerio. Verse 21 to 23. So let's skip. Verse 21, chapter 16, verse 21. From that time, Yahusha began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised the third day. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of Elohim, but the things of men. T-Rail, you want to say something?
Yes, we see right there when you're rebuking a leader and you're actually wrong, and then and you're pretty much caught on it. So, and then he called him Satan for all things. He called him Satan. Wow.
Now let's put Yahusha on trial and tell Yahusha to repent for what he said to Peter, but let's not talk about why he said what he said. Let's just focus on what he said. It was wrong. Let's crucify Yahusha for that. No, that's not right. Go ahead.
You know what's also interesting is what Peter said. He didn't say anything that sounded bad. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was, no, far be it from you. You're telling me that you're going to go and you're going to suffer these things. And
that's true.
I don't want you to,
it wasn't
don't
even,
say that,
Yeah, it wasn't even a hard rebuke. Peter wasn't even slandering Yahusha.
Yeah, it was just like, no, don't say that.
It was a concern.
Mm-hmm. And how harsh Messiah turned back to him.
Wow.
Just straight up. But again, that's,
imagine if Peter were to slander Yahusha and say, Yahusha, you're being prideful and arrogant and seeping with pride, and you have pride pouring out of your pores, and you're worried and scared and afraid. What do you think Yahusha's response would be? Oh, ye of little faith? No, I think he would do a little bit more than that. Get behind me, Satan? Nah, probably a little bit more intensified than that. I mean,
I don't know. Get behind me, Satan. That's pretty bad to me.
I don't even want to know what he would say or do. This dude had a lot of power, so you never know.
Yeah,
something could fly from the sky or something, try to hit you.
That's him out.
It's a big part of discernment.
All right. That was a good point. I didn't even catch that. So that was his disciple. That was his beloved, okay? And that was the guy who, was that the one that just got promoted? Mm-hmm. That was the one that just got promoted in verse 17. Peter just got promoted to being given the keys of heaven to loose and bind everything, All right, moving on. 16:24 to 27. It says, then Yahusha said to his disciples, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? Or what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man will come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will reward each according to his works. I don't know why I put that in there. I can't really, thinking about it right now, I can't really think of anything. I mean, it might be a little offensive in the sense of you have to deny yourself. Yeah. That hurts a little bit, okay? Because I want to do what feels good to me, and I want to do what pleases me. So, yeah, it's a little offensive to have to say I have to deny that. That's the main problem with why people don't believe in God. It's the main problem. It has to do with I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to be accountable to nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be accountable to myself. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That is the gospel right there. That is your biggest dilemma right now is who you have to face after you die. All right, moving on. All right, so chapter 17, verse 14 to 21. And then I'm going to let Jeff share the little last word about ye of little faith.
Yeah, no pressure. Thanks.
Verse 14. All right. It says, and when they had come to the multitude, a man came to him, kneeling down to him and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is an epileptic or has a lunatic spirit. Brother Derail's translation. And suffers severely, for he often falls into the fire and often into the water. So I brought him to your disciples, but they could not cure him. Then Yahusha answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation. Want to look up the word perverse? That is not a positive word. How long shall I be with you? Now he's talking about his relationship with them. How long shall I bear with you? That's relationship. He's talking about endurance. How long do I need to endure with you? Bring him here to me. And he endures.
Yeah.
He's got the endurance. He's verbally sharing his frustration, but he's willing to endure. No, go ahead. You got your hand
But
up.
again, what gets me is this thought of like, man, Messiah, but this guy has a son with this spirit that he's asking you to deliver him. Why are you responding like that? You
Yeah,
see
why are you
what I'm
so
saying?
harsh right now?
It's this look that I gotta think about and go in my prayer closet and stuff like that. But if something seems like, well, that's not the right response or that's not the right approach, but what is he really getting to? Obviously, he knows the hearts of the matter. He knows the hearts of men and stuff like that. He discerns beyond what they're asking and things. But I think it's like being sober-minded and being able to discern, okay, this approach or this word or whatever doesn't look right. Is it actually wrong? Or there's something to what's being said and done. So it's just crazy. Like, why are you shot? Or no, maybe no shot, whatever.
I think the worst one for me is Peter drowning, and he says, you little faith. I think that's the worst one. Like, my man's is like falling in water, like getting ready. He's sinking.
He can bring him back from the dead. It's good.
He can bring it back.
I think this is a righteous anger because he's like, do I have to do everything for you? You're going to have to do it on your own someday. You need to do this. And that's what he's saying. How long must I endure you? You know, bring him to me. I'll do it again. I'll take care of it. That kind of thing. And it's frustrating to Yahusha. We should be able to take care of these things now after being disciples and with the faith and all that.
This sounds similar to class I had on Tuesday. So I'm working, for those of you who don't know, I'm an apprentice in the installation industry. It's a 4-year apprenticeship. I'm in my 2nd year. And me and my partner are slow. Like, I actually looked around and I saw that we are actually probably slower than everybody in class, right? And I was starting to tell him, I was like, yo, I literally had just told him, yo, we gotta speed it up, man. Like, we're behind. And the teacher had just came and ripped into my partner. He talked to him so disrespectfully. He didn't talk to me that way. But he went in and was like, what's wrong with you? Like, you should know this stuff already. And instead of stuff, he said something else. You should know this stuff already. This is the 4th time doing it this year. The same rack, same thing. You know, you should be having this other part on. Why you got this part on wrong piece? And the guy's like, I don't know. I'm just stupid. And he's like, why are you saying that about yourself? What's wrong with you? And like, he was, he went in. And then he came to me and he was like, come on, man, you should be here. You should be doing this. This part is supposed to be here. This part is supposed to be there. And I was like, nope, you're right. I was like, yep, that's true. Yep. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, I just had told them we're going slow. I knew it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I accept that. Like, I looked around. I know we're slacking. You know what I mean? So I accepted the rebuke. And then the other teacher came and it's almost like they talked to each other and said, all right, I'm going to go first, and then you're going to go second. The other teacher came and gave it to us. And I was like, yeah, I know. Kevin just came and spanked us. He just came and took out the belt. He was like, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But I'm used to that. You know what I'm saying? I know if I need to get better at something, if I'm doing something wrong, I can accept a rebuke, even if it's harsh. What does the word say about obeying your masters, even the ones who are harsh, right? It still tells us to submit to them, even the ones who are harsh. So, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Anyway.
This one, can I say something?
Yeah.
This
and then
verse, this 14 through what we just read anyways, I feel I can understand it because I train, people in the railroad sometimes, and I'll train them for like a month, and I have to like let them go, let them do their own thing too, so I can see where they're at.
Nice.
So I can understand the frustration, when this person's not learning, because you're going to be on your own, and your life is in your hands and the engineer's hands, and this is very serious stuff. You need to get it or get out.
And the life of civilians.
And civilians, anybody, yes.
Yep. So there is, there's a lot involved in this, for sure. Ezzy, what you got?
I guess it's more of a question. In Yahusha's frustration in 17, is it more to do with, because I know he addresses the disciples, is it more to do with the disciples' faith or the person who's coming to be healed by the disciples' faith, or potentially both? Because his comment is, unbelieving and corrupted generation, how long shall I be with you, and how long shall I put up with you, and then bring him here to me? So is it just the faith of the disciples, or also the faith in now these students going out with the same authority as their teacher, and that person not believing in their authority?
That's a good question. And the reason why is because I can see why you came up with that question, because it doesn't directly say he responded to the disciples. It just says Yahusha answered and said. So I can see why you're asking that question. But in verse 20, when 19 and 20, when the disciples say, why could we not cast it out? Yahusha said to them, because of your unbelief. So that is equated to me to faithless. So it might have been to everybody. It might have been to everybody. The people coming to me and continue to ask, but I think a lot of responsibility was on the person who was supposed to deliver and do the healing, which is what he sent those disciples out to do that. He gave them power to do that. So it's a good question. You actually had me right there doubting for a little bit. I was reading it again like, oh man, it didn't say he was talking to his disciples. But I would assume, based on how it's all laid out, that the disciples are included in that. And again, this ain't the first time he's saying this to his disciples, right? We've read a few times already where he's saying faithless generation. So anyway, that's the rest of the story. The disciples asked him, why couldn't we do it? Yahusha said, because of your unbelief. For surely I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. And nothing will be impossible for you. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. So that's it for chapter 17. We're all caught up with our hurtful righteous words with the discipleship study. We're in the same chapter. That's it. Anybody got any last? Oh, Jeff, your last comment on Ye of Little Faith. Go ahead and share that. See if you can do it again.
Yeah. So actually, D-Rail brought up a really good point. It's that he knew his time was limited. How long will I strive with you? And it was so important that they understood what he was teaching them because of his limited time. And this was that this is the last chance for him to be like effective before he went back home. And he was trying to teach people to be just like him. And he was challenging them as a good teacher. And like, I equated it earlier as to when we were kids and we were all friends hanging out, trying to dare each other to do stuff like, oh, you're a chicken, I dare you. And when I look at ye have little faith in context, I feel like he's challenging them to bring out the best in them, you know, like I dare you. And then you step up to it, and they stepped up to it. But I think that it was a teaching tool, you know. He wasn't being disrespectful. He was provoking an emotion, you know, to achieve a result. But
and if not,
I hope that right.
And if that's not the case,
Was that?
I said, and if it's not the case, what Jeff just said is a good mentality for you to have when your leader is rebuking you. Just act like he's motivating you and encouraging you and challenging you. Just make pretend that's what he's doing. And it will help you to not respond inappropriately. And say your leader is prideful and arrogant and self-righteous. So anyway.
Man, so is calling something a sin that's not actually a sin? Wouldn't that be Talmudic or legalistic? If you call something a sin that's actually not a sin? Would that fall in that, somewhere in that those two waypoints, legalistic or Talmudic?
Hypocritical, according to Yahusha. You hypocrites.
All right.
Well, did you keep your own traditions, right? Instead of the commandments of Elohim. Yeah. It's hypocritical.
Yeah, like
people that say, don't judge.
Like, oh, you're angry.
Yeah, don't judge. You shouldn't be judging. But what are you doing to me right now? Aren't you judging me by telling me?
It's the only verse everybody knows, huh?
So it's hypocritical, you know, when you're telling me I can't call out a sin or say something's wrong, but you do the exact thing to me. You're doing the exact thing to me. I'm being put on trial for rebuking, and I'm being rebuked. Mm-hmm. Okay. So long, soldiers. We'll see you on the next one.